Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast series powered by openbusinesscouncil.org and citiesabc.com, and as well in partnership with fashionabc.org. Once again, we keep profiling the best people in the world, the best doers, the experts that work between business, technology, and as well ideas and visions to make our world a better place, and as well looking at cutting edge possibilities where we actually can look at how digital transformation is changing our business, our society, our cities, and as well how all of these things makes us potentially better, but as well the challenges and the opportunities that are coming with all these different things. So in our over 220 interviews, we've been profiling some of the leading thought leaders, experts, technologists, and leaders of business and technology in the world. And today we're going to continue doing that as such. So I welcome to our series Wajdi Mereb. That is actually a person in the interstice of a lot of these different things. So Wajdi is an engineer and an expert and thought leader in digital transformation that has been working between MENA region, so Middle East and North Africa, and as well has been looking at a lot of these things, especially in terms that you're going to be describing today, from business information modeling and digital twins and technologies around the fourth industrial revolution and a lot of other things. Wajdi is as well a winner of the Innovator of the Year at the AEC Excellence Awards 2020, and is an engineer, an architect, an innovator who has more than 17 years of experience in putting all of these different things together, from digital transformation to asset management and BIM, which is a concept that we're going to talk today, building information modeling. So that is a key element for when you're building big infrastructure, big parks, big buildings, and big cities as well. Wajdi is a former digital transformation BIM manager at Roads and Transport Authority in Dubai. And during his tenure, Wajdi was awarded, as I mentioned, with Innovator of the Year, but has been working a lot in terms of especially how technology can be applied to building especially cities, transportation systems, airports, big scale parks, and a lot of different things that are key for our world and especially for our cities. Wajdi is trained as an architect and engineer with a master in engineering and management. It is also an MBA from the University of Sheffield in the UK with distinction. In terms of measuring highlights, I mentioned the work has been working in transportation, but as well, one of the things that I'm particularly interested to speak today is his work in looking at the technologies and emerging technologies when it comes to building information management modeling, and as well digital twins technology and the convergence into application in terms of architecture, building, real estate, and as well big infrastructures. And he is as well a personality that comes with an expertise and the capacity of looking at theory, practice, and putting together big scale technology and real estate areas, and as well looking at policies. As a policy expert, he author and monitor the corporate BIM policies for vendors and employees in different organizations, and as well has been looking at working how we certify these technologies and applying this to the complexity of engineering, architecture, and building construction. And it's been working a lot of different projects. We're going to be talking about this, but one of the things that I'm particularly interested in is looking at how we mixes all these different parts of complexity of technology. For the ones first listening to us, we're going to describe these topics, but as well someone that is on the epicenter of the fast-growing area of the MENA region, so Middle East and North Africa, but as well someone that comes from Palestine and actually build a career worldwide in different parts of the world. So welcome to our series, Wajdi. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dinis. Thanks for the nice introduction. I believe it is my pleasure to be joining your series of interviews.
So thank you. Now it's an honor as well, and I know that this is going to be a technical interview for people listening to us, but we're going to be talking about the human and the personalities, and I think that's the most important thing. And we're going to explain a lot of topics that I know for most of people are probably not, but my YouTube channel always tends to go between theory and practice, and they're going to be touching that. So let's look at your education. I know that from Palestine to the world, and just being born in Palestine is probably, I would say, a challenge for a lot of areas, especially for someone that built a global reputation, but as well for someone that had to think out of the box. And you actually have a fantastic education, fantastic achievements. But I'd like to hear a bit about how you went from that region of the world to be right now in Abu Dhabi, and the fantastic things you've been doing and achieving.
Thank you. Actually, I started my studying in Palestine in the university named Birzeit University, where I graduated as an architectural engineer 2006. At that time, you know, it was a very minimum number of softwares, digital solutions, BIM implementation. All of this was very minimal at that time. But during my study in Birzeit University, maybe starting from the third year or the fourth year in the university, I started digging for finding the best solutions in engineering in order to see how things can be moving forward in the engineering by using the digital solutions. To be very honest, at that time in Palestine, Intifada was running, things were, clash was there, and a lot of issues were happening. We suffered a lot from the closure of the university in many cases. I had been under a situation not to be able to visit my family for 2-3 months, just because of the siege and the checkpoints and these type of conditions. For a long period, the university was closed, and you need to keep the hostel, you name it. So all these conditions were just challenges that pushed me to do the best, pushed me to learn more in order to be prepared as a good architect who can work with best companies around the world. Then as soon as I graduated, I worked for a consultancy office, a local consultancy office, where I started touching the points of engineering, you name it, as a very young junior architect. Slowly, after 2 years almost, I had been getting the opportunity to work with one of the international or multinational companies, a contractor named CCC, Consolidated Contractors Company. At that time, CCC was building the first BIM center in Palestine, and I had been selected within another 4 colleagues to establish the first BIM center in Palestine. So we started our journey by joining the BIM center of CCC in Cairo for some months, just to be trained, just to be learning about the projects and to know more how the process of working should be done. Then after some almost 7 months, we get back to Palestine and we established our own BIM center, and it was a very fantastic, successful story. We started 5, and right now, until today, if I'm not mistaken, there's 30 or 40 engineers working on that BIM center. Basically, we were a support team for the CCC projects around the world, and also we were delivering the knowledge to the engineering students in Birzeit University by learning them about BIM, digital engineering, the transformation, and all of this. It was a very fantastic journey for me, just again as a junior architect at that time. In 5 years' time from graduating as an architect, I decided to go to one of Palestinian universities to learn, to study my master's in engineering management. I spent 1 year learning at Al Najah University and getting the Master of Science in Engineering Management. Out of sudden, at that time, I got an opportunity to work in Oman, I got an opportunity from my company just to go and join the BIM team in Muscat Airport project at that time. Then I stopped my studying to join the team in my master's studying, I mean, to join my colleagues in Oman. During my working in Oman, it was my first time to join outside a site office, which had a lot of experience, and you name it, when you are joining the site team, it is not easily to be compared to the level of relaxation that you have when you are working in the office. We were working for 10 hours a day. We are stuck working in the middle of the desert, and it was summer, and you can imagine how much hot at that time. It was the first time for me to be in the Gulf. Some months after that, I got a nice email, and in the same time, it was like a breaking email. That email was saying, "Congratulations, Wajdi, you had been selected for a scholarship to study your master's in the University of Sheffield." From one hand, it was a congratulation because it was very nice to get a scholarship and to continue your studying. But from the other hand, I was just starting working in the desert and start working on the site office, and I start building my capabilities from a site point of view. At that point of time, I received that email saying, "You need to stop all of this. You need to stop your career. You need to resign from your job. Go and join a full-time 1-year master's studying in the Sheffield University." So it was not easy at that time, either to move forward with studying or to neglect the studying and continue as a professional engineer. I was thinking loudly with my friends, with my family at that point, both choices were good. Both choices were great, either to continue and to build your professional career, and the second is to develop your academic part of it, of your experience. Then, after long discussion between me and myself, I decided to go and complete my studying in the Sheffield University, and I stopped working for 1 year. Thanks to my manager at that time. He was very friendly and supportive. He was telling me, "Go, do your master's and come back to me. Your place will be kept." And that was real. After 1 year or so, I completed my master's and I did my thesis. I had been named as the first class by the faculty, and I got great marks. Then I get back to my manager, and he was telling me, "Yes, your position is still there, and we are welcoming you to join our team in Abu Dhabi International Airport," the new project at that time. That was 2013. Yeah, 2013, when I came back again to the Gulf to work in the middle of the desert and to join the site office and to enjoy the experience and building on my experience. So from one hand, I got the chance to be well educated based on my bachelor, based on my master's. And unfortunately, I didn't complete the second master's from Al Najah University, but it was adding values to me. And from the other hand, I got the experience to be as an architect with a consultant. Then I got the experience of a contractor, and not only a contractor, a multinational contractor who is offering me the opportunity to work on the office in the BIM center in Palestine, and after that to join the site office in Muscat Airport and in Abu Dhabi Airport. So I was enjoying and building on my experience in order to enhance the capabilities and to enhance the maturity that I never feel that it was reaching to the level that I wish until now. Until now, I'm feeling that I'm hungry to learn more. I'm hungry to do more, to experience more type of projects. after that, some years after that, and after spending some good time in Abu Dhabi airport, I had been selecting to lead the digital transformation for one of the pioneer organizations in UAE and in Dubai. It was the Road and Transportation Authority. I worked with them as a BIM manager, where I started the process of digital transformation in the transportation system, including the infrastructure projects and the buildings projects, etc. It was also adding a lot to my experience, and at that point, I had been it was very nice how much efforts and time had been consumed in order to find the best solution to be applied, because imagine that it was the first time. And we built the strategy, we built the protocols or the policies for the implementation of digital engineering, and we start the pilot project and experimental implementation of this solution in one of the biggest projects at that time. It was the extension of Red Line Metro Dubai, which had been extended from Jebel Ali to the Expo 2020 location. So that was our pilot project, a very big project with a very huge budget and very limited time was assigned for that project, because it was headed by or capped by the limited period of time to be ready before 2020, because the Expo is coming. So we started in very quickly acceleration plan in order to achieve both, to see the project up and running and to test how much the digital engineering solutions, the BIM, the digital twin, and all these solutions can be supportive for Road and Transportation Authority. And as you mentioned at your introduction, based on my experience in that project, or in many projects actually, but that was the most famous project, I had been selected in 2020 as the Innovator of the Year by the AEC Excellence Awards. And it was for me like a big thank you for long efforts. It was for me not a personal award, it was a team award for me, but it was I had been as a representative from my point of view, because there had been a huge efforts from all the team in order to achieve the success of the BIM implementation. And I believe it was a huge successful story that until now mentioned by all the experts or all the specialists in this field, because during the process of BIM implementation in Dubai RTA, there had been a chance for having a pioneering position, not only for me as a person, but also for the organization itself, because the implementation of BIM and moving towards digitalization solutions in construction at that moment of time had been considered as a change step in the industry, because RTA considered as one of the most important governmental entities in Dubai, and whatever is implemented or mandated to be implemented by RTA considered as a mandate among the full country, and it was affecting the industry positively because of the number of stakeholders and the supply chain members that are working for RTA. And during that process, I remember very well that I had been leading the RTA team in getting the PAS 1192-2-3-5 certificates from the PSI, and later on the ISO 19650 compliance certificates. And all of this put RTA in a very important position in front of others, as RTA had been named as the first organization or the first client organization that had been getting the compliance awards, the compliance certificates, sorry, against the ISO and the PAS schemas. Additional to that, we had been participating with BSI in developing the PAS 1192-3 and -5. So we had been considered as a pilot project. RTA had been considered as a pilot for developing these schemas. And it was fantastically nice to consider RTA as the first organization getting the certificates after that. So in general, when you look to this journey, it was fully with hardworking and joyful in the same time. And that's what I'm still doing and I'm still enjoying.
That's a fantastic career. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I know how difficult it is as well, all the different areas, and for people that are privileged to live in a country that is more stable. But in your case, you did that among a lot of challenges. And as well, the Middle East have been changing massive in the last 20 years. That is part of your career. We have from an emergent economy to places like Dubai that right now are leading the world, and UAE in terms of technology and different parts that we're talking right now. So let's, for people that are less technical, and I know that you're going to talk about a couple of technical terms, and you as one of the global leaders as well, and the experts in BIM. So let's look at the concept of BIM. So as just summary, I mentioned there is a building information modeling, and it's a concept right now that people, especially in construction, architecture, and buildings, they know a bit about it, but it's a concept that is still not completely mainstream. So if you could just give us a bit of an overview how you see it, especially as someone that is an expert, but as well someone that is building it.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic question, and it's very important to simplify it because it's simple. You remember, Dinis, maybe 25, 30 years ago, all the engineers were doing their drawings by hand. Early 90s or end of 80s, people start using the AutoCAD. At that point of time, everybody was using his hand to develop the drawings for any type of projects, either if it's a road or if it's a building or it's a theme park or whatever. Gradually, people start aligned with the computer coming on board. At that time, people start thinking about using softwares that will be helpful for the engineering process. What is happening for digital engineering transformation right now, in the last 10 years, let's say, is exactly what had been happening 30, 40 years ago when AutoCAD came on board. So it's a gradual historical development, evolving from using your hand to using AutoCAD. Now we are going to the third, let's say, level, where we start using something more digitalized. The more digitalized than AutoCAD means that we are depending on 3D models. And these 3D models are not dummy models. We are not just taking pictures, let's say, or building our 3D AutoCADs. We have our smart 3D models that can be helpful for us to share, to generate information and to support the design stage, construction stage, and operation stage after the handing over of our construction projects. So simply, it is about building a 3D environment that can be visualized easily and understood easily by whoever. Imagine that I am going to sell you an apartment now and just showing you 2D AutoCAD drawings, plans, sections, and elevations, and compare this to some pictures that is showing the full 3D of this apartment. Absolutely, you will be more understanding and more feeling the sense of that apartment, either if it is acceptable for you or neglectable, or you are not willing to continue with this, let's say, approach to get this to continue buying this apartment. So simply, it is the BIM is building a 3D dynamic model that can give us and support us with graphical information, which is the 3D itself, and non-graphical information, which is the information. And because of that, we have the I in the BIM, building information modeling. Information is the key non-graphical output of that model, which is very important for completing the process or the engineering process at any point of the life stage cycle. And when it comes to the word building, building is the verb of it, the verb of doing the building, and the modeling is the modeling. It's the 3D model.
That's a fantastic overview about the concept of BIM, and I think, like you said, in terms of overview, it comes from the idea of digital transformation of the CAD models of architecture, and then take it to the next level of making right now something that allows us to understand how things work in a completely digital ecosystem. So this interacts with the concept of digital twin. And the digital twin is a much bigger, larger concept. And this, I think, one of the challenges, and that's why I wanted to talk with you as an expert, but as well, these terms are still full of, I would say, paradoxes, because most of them are still being used by extra industry experts and professionals like you. But most of people get confused. Okay, business information modeling, business information management, and then, of course, digital twin, that is a much broader term. So if you could as well highlight how we do from the BIM to the digital twin, and as well, if you could describe the digital twin from your technical background.
Thank you. Yes, as you mentioned, digital twin is more abroad than BIM, but let me simplify it. When we are talking about the digital twin use cases and implementation, we are talking about the dynamic live information about the current as is status of the assets. The BIM is sharing with you the static data for what had been built at any point of time of the project life cycle. For example, during the design, if you are going back to the BIM model, you will be able to see the static level of information. But when it comes to the digital twin, you are adding the dynamic word of it, because there is an integration with the information to support the performance of the asset or the element at any point of time. So the BIM can give you the basis, and above this base, you can build by getting the information from the IoT and sensor equipments in order to learn more about the behavior of the asset. And by all means, all these technologies had been verified and used based on the value that they are adding for the users. So in the digital twin side, the major and the very important pillar for the benefits gained from them is related to providing the client or the user, whoever, with accurate information about the asset performance at any point of time. Secondly, based on these information and based on the analysis of these information, you will be ending up with empowering the decision-making process for about any of your assets, either to add, to remove, to demolish, to make a rehabilitation, you name it. So simply, as I mentioned before, people started the process of engineering documentation by hand, develop that to AutoCAD. Then we start seeing the 3D AutoCAD, which was giving us good information with good visualization, with no information. Then early 2010, people start using the BIM solutions, where the information had been enhanced, the level of information had been enhanced, the quality of the engineering documentation had been enhanced, the process of engineering during the design, during the construction had been enhanced. Reaching out to today's, we are hearing a lot of terminologies and a lot of techniques that can be adding value to the construction industry. And the good thing that we are looking around ourselves and we can see most of the industries are affected by the digital solutions and the transformation. The construction industry is not an exception. By all means, we need to get the benefits of the new softwares, the new approach, the new technologies that can support the quality of our products, either if it is a drawing or if it is a construction itself, or during the design or any point of time, or if we are going to think about minimizing the cost and minimizing the efforts and time that are consumed for delivering any of the projects. And when it comes to the digital twin, that I can say the second wave in the engineering industry, which is giving you accurate information about your assets at any point of time in order to facilitate the performance, the asset performance analysis, and empower the decision-making process by the user at any point of time. When I say any point of time, I mean at any life cycle stage, starting from design, going through construction, handing over operation maintenance until demolishing of your assets or your construction project.
So when it comes to digital twin, I think at the moment I would say that digital twin together with BIM are making a massive breakthrough in terms of how do you look at our society, our buildings, our houses, our cities, and as well our bodies, because in the end they can apply a digital twin to a body as well and start to integrate real-time data. So from your experience working on this industry, how mature do you think we are? Because one of the challenges I feel is there's the concept, there's a lot of companies, and at the moment, if you just search for digital twin companies, you'll find probably a network of 100 to 200 companies providing these services. But really the maturity and even the understanding of this is still very small, especially when it comes to countries, to cities. And of course, this can actually create a lot of optimization, like you mentioned, of both the capacity of looking at a perspective of building a given building or a given city, but as well, it can actually be included for things like carbon neutral footprint, optimization of transportation if it's in the case of a city, or even supply chain materials and all the ecosystem and the roadmap that you have around a given part. So how do you see this concept and as well the maturity of digital twins and some case studies that you want to highlight, because you actually have been building some interesting case studies on between the bridge of digital twin and BIM?
Yeah, I think you are highlighting one of the major items that everybody is seeking the answer for. Right now, we can see that there is maturity, but this maturity is under investigation because each organization is seeking the implementation of BIM, the implementation of digital twin from their point of view. And because it is it's still a new technology and not yet well verified, not yet well checked by the teams in different organizations. Each one is taking digital twin from his point of view. Some people are saying, let me use the digital twin from my point of view, and I will apply digital twin in order to achieve, for example, saving in the energy, and that's it. So they are summarizing the long list of benefits that can be generated from digital twin implementation by one use case. The second organization might focus on something else in order to achieve better results in quality. So they are applying the digital twin. At the end of the day, what we are seeing is from the digital twin.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
When it comes to the digital twin implementation right now, the verification process for which use case is suitable to the organization is a must. You need to identify what you are looking for. What is the order of the use cases that you are going to apply? Are you going to apply it in full for all your assets, for all your projects, or are you going to apply it only for this sector or that sector? Are you going to apply it during the design stage, or during design and construction, or during operation and maintenance only? So each organization should sit down and think about the implementation and what are the return of investments that they are going to achieve, and what are the added values that they are going to obtain from the implementation. And because of that, you can see that there is variety levels of implementation for digital twin here and there. And we are hearing a lot, to be honest, about implementation around us in the Middle East. And there is attractive cases that we can see here in this region and also in many other regions. The implementation is of digital twin is showing great results, and the return the return on investment that had been achieved so far is very attractive. For example, some of the companies reporting 5% saving in the total cost of the energy bills that they have, just because they start monitoring and tracking the leakage happening here and there in their energy consumption, based on the alarms that they received for maintaining the assets that they have. So some other entities are looking to use the digital twin solutions in order to monitor the behavior of their assets, and based on the behavior that they are analyzing, they can build their predictive maintenance actions in later stages. And based on that, they start procuring the needed spare parts based on the analysis that they are running for the data gathered about the performance or the behavior of their assets.
So I'm particularly interested in this part because, like you touched, this is the act optimization of performance, the visualization and data performance. These are the biggest, I would say, the biggest problems that we have in business worldwide. So, in your opinion, from your experience dealing with some of this software and some of these providers, what do you think can be done to improve? Because let's apply this, and let's use two case studies if you could. One is like a real estate developer, the other one is the city. How can we look at applying BIM technology and digital twin when it comes to these case studies in particular?
The good thing about these solutions that you are getting a replica for your physical assets. As soon as you have the replica at your machines or at your computer, you start sensing your physical assets in a virtual environment. Inside the virtual environment, for a city, for example, or for a building, or for a road, you start seeing what exactly you have, instead of utilities underground that we don't know what is running on, where it is the water leakage, or where is the electrical issue, or where is the problem happening in the AC, etc., etc., etc. You have an insightful readings about your assets in a virtual environment, not only in the physical environment. When you have this access to the virtual environment about your assets, your limit is the sky. You will decide which one of the cases you are going to use. Are you going to check the utilization of water and ensure that there is no leakage? Are you going to check the consumption of energy, consumption of electricity? Is it running correctly? Is it not? The maintenance team will have better understanding about the spare parts that they need to prepare and they need to replace on time. The operation itself will give you an indication based on the information that you will gather from fans, for example, or from the AC. It will give you indications because each equipment has its own specification and it is, let's say, normal consumption. If you find in the readings that there is something going above that average, then there is something wrong. Then you start investigation. For any reason, if you are in a city and you are thinking about emergency case or fire, and you need to ensure that all the exits are open and are tested correctly before the fire or fire drill or so. So all these information can give you can give you the support in order to take the proper action on time.
And this is the most important thing, I think, for our business and for everyone right now in society. So let's look right now a bit of your experience and some of the cases. You mentioned that you've been working with the cases related with airports and cases related with transportation as well. Do you want to just highlight top level, of course, some of these things? How do you apply the BIM technology and as well the methodology and as well some of the things related with complementary ways of working on this? I know that you are as well a geek on this technology, so it's important. I want to touch this because I want to demystify a lot of these things and how this works.
Thank you so much. Actually, the core implementation of BIM is connected with building the 3D model, and this is something that I used to do in the last 16, 17 years of my professional work. Basically, there's too many softwares, and you need to learn and to be able to use these softwares in order to replicate the models, the physical assets into virtual assets at your software. As soon as you have the 3D model authored and built in your machine, you start applying the requirements or the functions that you need to support. For example, generating the 2D drawings from the 3D models. This is very important, and it's saving a lot of money and efforts and time. Personally, I used to lead a team responsible for extracting shop drawings from 3D models. And based on our experience at that time and based on the calculations that we did, we found that we are saving 50% of the time consumed for shop drawing preparation, which means 50% of the resources. And additional to that, the level of edits and revisiting the drawings in later stages had been enhanced. So the quality, the total quality of the output has been enhanced from a point of view of the engineering shop drawings. Secondly, which is very important, the multidisciplinary models from different disciplines. You know, originally or in the traditional way of coordination, trace of each discipline had been drawn in a paper, and paper are traced above each others in order to check if there is any clashes happening between the different disciplines. But right now, you can take the 3D model, a multidisciplinary 3D model for the full building, and you start walk through the software in order to see where you have some errors or some clashes. And this is visually can be done by anyone, no need to have any experience. But aside from this, to get more accurate information, you can use the software in order to generate a clash detection report where you can see exactly each and every item clashing with the other. And you start sorting out these clashes between the different disciplines. So you can imagine what is the meaning of building your project virtually before building it and realistically on site. Sorting out the famous clash between a duct and a beam on computer is costing zero in front or in comparison of the cost of sorting it out on site. You can imagine how much delay and how much cost that this clash, for example, will cost. And the same is applied for many other disciplines. The clash between a column and the door, the clash between the MEP, any MEP item with any architectural facade element or steel structure element, you name it. So the coordination and the communication between the stakeholders in the construction industry had been enhanced by using these solutions. And you know, the sophistication level that we are reaching in the projects right now is huge. If you are not using such kind of digital solutions, I believe the implementation or the execution of these projects will not be easy at all. Because in additional to that, imagine that the level of visualization that the BIM solutions are providing for the clients, which means that they can imagine how their projects will be from day one before building it on site. So you can, the BIM and the digital solutions are supporting the selection of the right option by the management or by the owner of any project in order to get the best of the tools, the best of the solutions or the options that they are proposed for this project or that. In addition to that, the information usually in traditional approach submitted at the end of the project or at the end of any stage in tons of drawings or in CDs and hard disks. Right now, you are in the implementation of BIM. There is a CDE, a common data environment, where there's many solutions or many platforms can be considered as a common data environment. In this common data environment, each and every single member of the supply chain and or the stakeholders of the project having privileged access to the piece of information that they need to access it. So each one in the project are accessing and referring to the same piece of information at any point of time. Instead, you are referring to revision number 4 and I'm referring to revision number 10, and there is too much differences between what you have and what I have. You are following this revision, I'm following the other revision. Imagine the quantity surveying tasks, how much it was difficult, and now by some clicks, you are getting the accurate information for takeoff reports. Means all the quantifications that go that had been run by quantity surveyors can be done right now by using one of these digital solutions. And the good thing about it that it can be giving you exact accurate information and allow the procurement team to prepare themselves by purchasing the material, by preparing the orders, and by preparing the plans for cranes, for example, or for trolleys, etc. So there is actually too many ongoing benefits that can be achieved during the life cycle stages, but one of the most important that the construction industry usually suffering from the silos, means the designer is working alone, the contractor is working alone, then the handing over is done, I don't know how, then the operator is coming and finding nothing to build on, especially when people are focusing more towards the physical execution of the project and no one is taking care or minimum, let's say, care about the documentation of the generated assets or the built asset on site. So each one is working on his silo, and each team is willing to deliver his task and run. because I am a designer, I need to finish my design and I will hand over to the contractor and I don't know what he is going to do and I don't care because I have another mission. The same is applied for the contractor, the same is applied for the operator. But imagine right now we are talking one language starting from the beginning of the project, from the project being considered as an idea, going through gradually the 3D model is developed in the design, developed again in the construction, and more details are added. Upon reaching to the handing over, each asset built on site of that specific project will have all the information required to facilitate its operation and maintenance. And to be very honest, in many cases, and that's, by the way, the right approach, I personally used to call the operator and maintainer to sit down with the designer at the very beginning stage of the project in order to ensure that their requirements and their needs had been considered and respected in the design. For example, imagine that the maintainer is willing to have a door of 1 by 3 meter size in order to make his maintenance in later stages after 10 years. So we consider from today in the design that the door height should be 3 meters, not 2.1 meter, for example, just because the maintainer was telling us that upon maintenance after 15 years or 10 years or whatever, I will be needing this door to be at that height. Imagine that the routes that should be considered for replacing the spare parts should be all clear among the design. And after execution or after constructing on site, if this is blocked somehow at that point or this point, this means the project is not supporting the maintainability that required by the maintenance team. So by using the digital solutions, by using the BIM solutions, we were able to support all of this. All of this had been supported because we are using the 3D models in front of everybody. We are making proper collaboration between different entities, sitting together in one table, opening one piece of information related to the project, reviewing it, answering the questions and the queries coming on it on spot. Usually people are spending days or sometimes weeks in order to sort out any design issue or any a clash happening on site. But right now, if you have the virtual replica of your project in front of you at a computer, you can sit down with all people related to this portion or this clash, either if it is face-to-face or if they are virtually joining MS Teams or Zoom or whatever. They are all sitting together in front of one 3D model, and they start talking about sorting out that issue exactly as they are on site and they are facing the issue physically. So the good thing about all these solutions that you are reaching to a point that you can sort out all the issues that would be seen on construction earlier before going to construction, which means minimum number of variation orders during the process of construction, minimum extra time needed for sorting out any kind of clashes, and higher quality design that will not need much revisions later on. Imagine that we are preparing our designs, checking the clashes between different disciplines, building our models or our design in a way that everything is smoothly going and the designs are clearly mature to be built on site, then we will end up with no extra time, no extra budget, high quality output, either if it is in physical site or in virtual documentation that will be delivered that will be developed during construction and delivered to the next stage of OPEX, or the operation and maintenance team. So what had been built at the early design stage had been considered as a base. Then the designers are building above it and adding details to it. Slowly, gradually, this reached to a level of, in BIM, there is LOD 1, LOD 2, LOD 100, LOD 200, 300. They are building on these level of details until reaching the LOD 300. Then they are delivering this to the contractors, who are building on it and delivering it at LOD 500. Then delivering it to the next stage in the OPEX phase. All the information built gradually during the life cycle stages are supporting the operator and maintenance, who will be responsible of operating these assets that are delivered from the project. And whatever requirement that the operator is needing or the maintainer is needed had been already considered in the virtual replica of this asset before being built on site.
So we have all these capacities, and this is amazing because, of course, for people listening to us, and I think especially if you are on these areas, this is a critical element, and this is a critical element that can actually, like you mentioned, save millions of dollars, actually create a much more scalable project construction, and as well making sure that this gets in the right use. So I know that we're passing 1 hour, so I want to keep respect to your time. So in terms of education, and I know that you have quite solid education, where people can find information about this. And I think I've been challenging you personally to do some education on this, because I think this is an area that everyone needs. And like you mentioned, the education is not just understanding these terms and the importance of this technology, because they are mainstream. So the digital twin industry right now is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is growing fast, and BIM is part of that. But like you said, the important is that different people can collaborate between each other and understand that they're not working on their own area. A designer can actually work with an architect. An architect can work with the construction or the construction company, and we save a huge amount of resources, time, and as well we don't create sometimes what happens is kind of these buildings that become Frankenstein because people didn't speak with each other, and there's a great idea that becomes a completely monster. So from an education and as well collaboration, which is the key element here, is how can we actually make this more mainstream, and as well how can we educate and actually learn for people listening to us?
Fantastic question. Actually, the good thing about this period of time that we are living, that there is a huge amount of resources just to educate. Just Google it. We never used this word before 15, 20 years. I remember very well when the first time that I started searching to find a book about one of the BIM softwares, I struggled for weeks until I received that book back in 2006. But right now, it is fantastically supported by the industry right now, that everybody is willing to share his knowledge. And when you go to internet, you will find a huge amount of, let's say, knowledge sharing that you can get back to it. Secondly, right now, there is too many academic educational centers, universities, and institutions which are supporting with certified programs about different types of BIM, digital engineering solutions. And the education in this regard are built on two major topics. The first topic is related to the understanding of workflows, procedures, processes that are followed in the implementation, because we are not dealing now with a new paradigm. We are just discussing the digitalization of the engineering itself. The engineering is engineering. We are not adding something new, but we are facilitating the digitalization of it. So you need to learn some ideas, and you need to obtain the knowledge about the processes and the protocols that you need to follow when you apply BIM. Secondly, and the second important one is connected with the software, because at the end of the day, instead of using AutoCAD or the CAD solutions that had been used long time back. There is right now tons of softwares 3D for 3D modeling, and each one of them is more supportive in this discipline or that discipline. Sometimes you will find this software is very supportive for the interior design. That's very important and supportive in the infrastructure projects, etc. But when you go back to the software knowledge, at the end of the day, it's the mentality, the mindset that the student or whoever is willing to learn. If you build your mindset to use the 3D modeling tool, it will be the same. You know, the command bar for any solution or any software might be changed, but at the end of the day, you are going to use that command bar for building your 3D model for a road or for a room. And those are the major two items that can be learned. Recently, I heard that many institutions are building their own curriculum based on the digital engineering, and we start seeing the young junior engineers supported from their universities with good courses in order to join their professional life of working. And by all means, it is an evolving process that you are learning from your colleagues, learning from your job in each and every project that you are involved in.
Thank you so much. So just in terms of any book or any research that you highlight to our audience, and I have a book section, so I always like to highlight this, and I'm sure it's just top level. I'm sure we're going to put in the notes, or even any kind of course, because I know that there's a lot of Udemy courses, a lot of different things, and I'm sure you as well, you are an expert on this, so probably we'll come back to some more workshop with different people, because this is an important. So just on the top of your mind, anything that you suggest right now?
Yeah, I think it's good to refer back to the ISO 19650 as a standard to understand the process and to know how you can move on. It is very good to know about COBie. It's very good to know about the IFC software, Autodesk softwares, Bentley softwares, Tekla software, the Trimble Tekla softwares. Those are the most popular, let's say, softwares that's good to learn about them. And there is too many books, by the way, titled by BIM, Building Information Modeling, so you can find them. And in all of the social media or the internet, YouTube channels, there's too many, a huge amount, but please just go and read, go and hear. There is a huge amount of step-by-step learning classes for students or for engineers, just to learn how to use the software, how to learn about them, how to use the digital solution, what is the meaning of digital engineering, etc., etc., etc. And to be very honest, as I told you maybe before, I'm speaking frequently in the events. Yeah, I'm speaking frequently in the events regionally and internationally about the BIM implementation, the digital twin implementation, and asset management digitalization. And all the time, we are seeing some attendees from the universities, either if they are doctors or students, and all the time we feel that they are hungry to learn more and to engage the requirement of industry with a class, a program that they are following. So I believe the students have a good chance now, better than 15 or 20 years ago, because there is a huge amount of resources that they can get back to.
Now, for instance, as you speak, I was just actually opening here, and for instance, there's the BIM community that has 2.7 million subscribers. So I think it's for just in YouTube, and we are doing this as well in YouTube. This is a great example, like you just mentioned. And effectively on social media, you have a lot of things, and that's very fantastic videos and information that is worth. So I think last thing, where people can find you. I know that you're very discreet, but I think just if there's anything you want just to share with us, and some papers or something that you're doing that people can find about you and about your research.
To be very honest, I feel that I'm not doing well in the last few years because I'm super busy with my production, let's say, in my work. But hopefully, I will be focusing more in the coming few months in developing some papers. But from time to time, as I mentioned before, I'm frequently participating in the events, conferences conducted here in UAE and also in the region, sometimes outside the region also. I had been participating in the Autodesk University. I had been participated in many other conferences and events outside the region. So usually I'm sharing my thoughts with the audience in a panel discussion or in a keynote speaking. And I would say that I love so much the moment after finishing my session that I'm finding some people asking questions and I'm replying to them. And in many cases, I'm getting more and more questions coming from students for their dissertations or their thesis questionnaires and interviews. And people can find me easily in Facebook, in LinkedIn, and I'm receiving honestly a lot of messages from time to time from many people asking this question or that.
No, thank you so much. I definitely hope this interview will show more your capacities, and you've been actually a fantastic teacher as well on these topics. And I know that your wealth of knowledge is very impressive, but as well, I love that you're very detailed and taking things forward and taking these concepts more to the, and I think, like you said, this is available. Please study, because a lot of people talk just about very big concepts but forget the basics. So Wajdi, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely this will be the first of many, but it's been very exciting to have you here on our series.
Same, likewise, same as here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's a pleasure for me to have this interview. Thank you so much, and for the team, appreciate it.